What if I told you the real reason you're stuck isn't because you're not smart enough, but because you've been trained to chase comfort like it's a prize, when it's actually the trap? Why do we feel so tired, even when we've done nothing hard? Why does life feel heavy, even when everything around us seems fine? Maybe it's not the world, maybe it's our mindset. The Stoics lived through war, betrayal, plagues. We can't even get through a scroll session without comparing ourselves into misery. So the question is, who's really stronger? What if I told you that most people today are quietly losing the battle within, not because they lack intelligence or ambition, but because they lack the mental strength to face discomfort head-on? We scroll endlessly. We compare our worst days to someone else's highlight reel. We envy strangers. Then we sit there wondering why we feel stuck, anxious, or hollow. We crave ease and chase convenience, yet we feel more burnt out than ever. We avoid every form of pain, yet we suffer in silence every single day. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Comfort, the thing we've been taught to idolize, is slowly destroying us. Meanwhile, struggle, though brutal and raw, is where real power begins to grow. But here's the twist. The ancient Stoics figured this out over 2,000 years ago, long before smartphones, Instagram, envy, or self-help influencers. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and one of the most powerful men in history, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's not just a motivational quote. That's a mindset, a weapon, a way of living that lets you walk through fire and still stand tall. Stoicism doesn't promise to make life easier. It trains you to become unshakable. In this video, we're going deep, not into feel-good inspiration, but into 8 brutal Stoic laws that will challenge you to level up, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. These aren't theories. They are principles forged in real battle in ancient Rome, and they are just as necessary today in our digital chaos. Before we begin, I need you to do one thing. If you're truly serious about growth, don't just watch this like it's background noise. Don't treat this like another feel-good dopamine hit. This is your call to rise. Like this video right now. Drop a comment when something hits deep. Send it to someone who's stuck. And above all, don't skip a second. Because even one missed law might be the one that could have saved you from breaking down when it matters most. Let's begin. Law. #1. Embrace discomfort like a friend. Most of us have been trained to run from pain. The Stoics, they did the opposite. They trained for it. They looked it in the eye. They welcomed it, not because they liked suffering, but because they knew pain is the furnace where strength is forged. Think back to your most defining moment, the time you truly grew. Was it during a vacation? Or was it during heartbreak, betrayal, rock bottom? Did you grow because life was soft, or because it punched you and you refused to stay down? Marcus Aurelius didn't live in peace. He ruled during plagues, wars, betrayals, and still he led with calm. He didn't fear discomfort. He used it to become something greater. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius, that's not poetry, that's law. Every obstacle is a sharpening stone for your will. Every delay tests your patience. Every failure is a lesson in resilience. Modern life says, avoid discomfort. Stoicism whispers, prepare for it. That cold shower you dread, that tough conversation you keep avoiding, that workout you skip when you're tired, that's not punishment. It's where your character is carved. The Stoics believed something simple but powerful. If you willingly choose discomfort now, you're training your mind and body to endure the storms of life later. So when chaos inevitably strikes, you're not destroyed by it. You're ready. Take Seneca, one of the most famous Stoic thinkers. He deliberately practiced hardship, not out of self-punishment, but out of wisdom. He would sleep on the floor, eat the most basic food, wear old worn-out clothes. Why? Because he understood something most people today ignore. If you prepare your mind for loss and discomfort in times of peace, you won't be broken when life suddenly strips everything away. And here's the deeper truth. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your mirror. It reflects your current strength. It shows you who you are when things aren't easy, and even, more importantly, who you are becoming. Most people avoid small pain today, only to suffer much greater pain tomorrow. But the Stoic doesn't flinch. They walk straight into the fire, not recklessly, but with awareness. And something powerful happens when you do that. You stop fearing the pain. And that's the first step toward real freedom. From this point on, see discomfort not as a threat, but as a sparring partner. Yes, it might bruise your ego. Yes, it might hurt, but it's building you day by day, trial by trial. So pick one small discomfort today and lean in. No debate, no delay, a cold shower, a hard conversation, 10 minutes of silence with your boredom. Whatever it is, do it. Remind yourself, this is how warriors are made, not by running, but by rising. Comment this below. Discomfort is my training ground. Number 2, stop being owned by your emotions. Let me ask you, how often do your emotions hijack your day? Someone says something disrespectful and you snap. Plans change and your mood crashes. You feel tired, so you skip the gym, the work, the thing you promised yourself you'd do. It's not just you, it's all of us. But here's the brutal truth. If your emotions control you, then you're not free. You're enslaved by them. And the Stoics believed that emotional slavery is worse than physical chains. Epictetus, a former slave turned Stoic master, put it perfectly. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. They can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by them. Let that sink in. That driver who cut you off in traffic, you handed them your peace. That breakup, you gave it your identity. That one hateful comment online, you gave it your joy. Stoicism doesn't tell you to become emotionless. It tells you to become emotionally wise. Don't ignore your emotions. Observe them, understand them, then choose how to respond. Because the difference between a child and a Stoic, the child throws a tantrum. The Stoic sits in the storm and thinks. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, wrote this in his personal journal. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Now that's the kind of control we rarely talk about. The power to say, this doesn't deserve my energy. This doesn't get to ruin my peace. Yes, it's a hard truth, because it means you lose the right to blame anyone else. You can't say, he made me angry or she ruined my day. You realize your reaction was your choice. But here's the empowering part. You can choose again. You don't have to be a slave to your feelings. You can feel anger without acting on it. You can feel fear and still take the next step. You can feel sadness and still move forward. That's emotional strength. That's Stoic freedom. So the next time you feel triggered, pause, don't react. Take a breath, ask yourself, is this feeling useful right now? Then respond with intention. This isn't being robotic. It's being in control. It's being grounded in a world that's constantly shaking. Because when you stop being ruled by your emotions, you gain something rare. Clarity.com, power. You walk into rooms with steadiness. You don't get pushed around by every small wave. You become the anchor in the storm. And in today's world, where people spiral at the slightest discomfort, that kind of steadiness isn't just rare, it's magnetic. It's unshakable. Real growth begins when you stop being a puppet and start becoming the master of your inner world. You work hard, you give your best, you love deeply, and then they leave. You do the right thing, and still, you're the one who gets punished. And in that moment, something inside you snaps. This isn't fair. But here's the hard Stoic truth. Fairness is a myth we created, not a law of the universe. Even Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, who ruled one of the greatest empires in history, saw injustice every single day. But instead of whining, blaming others, or collapsing into bitterness, he held firm to one powerful belief. You can commit injustice by doing nothing. He didn't waste energy shouting at the unfairness of life. He grounded himself in this unshakable reality. Life isn't about fairness. Life is about strength. The Stoics didn't walk through life expecting gentleness. They expected pain. They expected betrayal. They expected loss, change, and chaos. And because they expected it, they were ready for it. Let's be brutally honest. Fairness is a comforting idea. But when you cling to it too tightly, it makes you fragile every time. We say, this isn't fair. What we're often really saying is, I don't like how this feels, and I don't want to deal with it. But here's the unbreakable Stoic law. You don't grow by demanding fairness. You grow by facing reality and moving forward anyway. Just look around. Bad things happen to good people. Terrible people sometimes succeed. Effort doesn't always equal reward. That's not being negative. That's being awake. And what separates the average person from the unstoppable? The average person waits for life to be fair. The Stoic builds a fire so strong inside that nothing outside can extinguish it. And no, this doesn't mean you become cold or shut off your heart. It means you stop waiting for the world to treat you right. And instead, you start treating yourself right, no matter what the world throws at you. Seneca once wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage, especially when life seems unfair." So what do you do when life punches you in the gut? You don't complain. You convert the pain into fuel. You sharpen your skills until the world can't ignore you. You love fiercely, but without clinging to expectations. You face betrayal and walk forward with dignity. The Stoic way is radical responsibility. Not because everything is your fault, but because it's always your move. You can't control when life hits, but you always control how you respond. And that response, steady, calm, like a warrior in the storm, that's what makes you truly unstoppable. Fairness is never guaranteed, but freedom is earned. One powerful choice at a time. Number 4, focus on what you can control. Let go of the rest. If there's one Stoic principle that can change your entire life, it's this one. The Stoics believed that real power lives in a very specific, very small place, inside your control. Everything outside of that, let it go. Epictetus, who knew hardship deeply, said it best. Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. But here's the trap most people fall into every day. They try to control other people. They obsess over outcomes. They try to predict the future. And when it doesn't go their way, they spiral. And then they wonder why they feel so anxious, so helpless, so angry. Let's break it down. What is truly under your control? Your thoughts, your choices, your actions, your response. That's it. Everything else. People's opinions, the weather, the economy, the past, chance, randomness. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you sail. You can't force people to like you, but you can choose how you show up. You can't stop prices from rising, but you can choose how to prepare, how to spend, and how to learn. That shift from external obsession to internal control, it's life-changing. It gives you back your center. It puts both hands on the wheel. Imagine you're caught in a storm at sea. Most people scream at the wind, the Stoic. They grab the wheel and steer the ship. That's what gives you calm when everyone else is panicking. That's what makes you focused while others complain. That's what makes you disciplined when others drift. It's not about pretending the world doesn't matter. It's about deciding what gets your attention. And truthfully, 90% of what people stress about is completely outside their control. Here's a simple Stoic practice. Every time you feel stress creeping in, ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is yes, take action. If the answer is no, release it. Simple, yes, easy. Not always powerful, absolutely. Marcus Aurelius said it long ago. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And when you live like this, people notice. You become grounded. You become clear. You become unshakable, not because you control everything, but because, no matter what happens, you control yourself. Number 5, practice voluntary hardship to build unbreakable will in a world addicted to comfort. Discipline becomes a superpower. Most people wait for life to get hard before they learn how to endure. The Stoics, they didn't wait. They created their own adversity, not to suffer, but to prepare. Not to punish themselves, but to grow stronger before the storm. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoics, once wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, is this the condition I feared?" That wasn't misery. That was voluntary hardship, a deliberate step into discomfort, so that the mind wouldn't crack when true pressure arrived. Now pause and really think about this. Most people today do everything in their power to avoid discomfort. They never skip a meal. They never go 5 minutes without scrolling. They never sit in silence. They never willingly walk away from convenience. But what happens when life eventually takes those comforts away? They break, they panic, they blame others. The Stoic, they've already trained for the hard days. They've already faced hunger, boredom, fatigue, rejection, loneliness. And no, it doesn't make them superheroes. It makes them adaptable. You don't build mental strength by watching motivation clips or repeating feel-good affirmations. You build it by doing the thing you don't want to do. On purpose, voluntary hardship can take many forms. Fasting for 24 hours. To remind yourself you control your urges, not the other way around. Taking a freezing cold shower even when every part of you screams no. Saying no to a luxury you can easily afford, just to sharpen your self-restraint. waking up early to train while your body begs for rest. These might seem like small, even unnecessary acts, but stacked daily, they form something powerful, an inner strength that no one can take from you. And that's why, when real hardship eventually shows up, as it always does, the Stoic doesn't flinch. They don't run, they smile, because they've already walked through fire by choice. Marcus Aurelius ruled during plagues, betrayals, and wars. Yet his writings are filled with calm, clarity, and focus. Why? Because hardship didn't surprise him. He expected it. And when you expect difficulty, it loses its power to paralyze you. So instead of asking, "How can I make life easier?" ask yourself, "How can I become stronger?" Practice being hungry and not losing focus. Practice being alone and staying grounded. Practice being cold, tired, rejected, or bored, and still keeping your mind centered, because one day, life will throw more at you than you think you can handle. And when that moment comes, you won't collapse, you'll rise. Number 6. Detach from outcomes, fall in love with the process. From a young age, we're taught to chase results, get the job, win the deal, hit the goal, earn the money, be admired, be seen. But Stoicism flips the script completely. The Stoic way says, detach from the outcome, master the process. Why? Because the results, they're never guaranteed, but your effort, that is always within your control. Epictetus said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you cling to outcomes, you trap yourself in a cycle of suffering. You hit the gym for a week, don't see abs. You quit, you launch a project. It doesn't explode with views. You feel like a failure. You love someone with all your heart, and they leave. You collapse. But what if you flipped it? What if, instead of obsessing over the destination, you fell in love with the journey, with the showing up, with the writing, with the building, with the thinking, with the growing, with the grind? That's the Stoic path. Because when you focus on the process, you always win, even if the outcome isn't what you hoped for. And here's the kicker, ironically, when you let go of the result. So what does that actually look like? It means you stop obsessing over what might happen. You stop checking the scoreboard before the game has even begun. Instead, you work the process with full courage and attention right now. If you're a writer, write not to go viral, but to sharpen your thoughts, your voice, your craft. If you're an athlete, train not just to win, but to master your body, to become disciplined, precise, resilient. If you're building something, a business, a dream, a better version of yourself, build not for applause, but for the pride of your own effort. Because the moment you tie your worth to external outcomes, you make yourself fragile. You're saying, if I don't win, I'm not enough. But the moment you tie your worth to discipline, to presence, to focus, you become unshakable. Here's a Stoic shift in perspective. Show up like the result is already done. And now you're just here to enjoy the work. Whether you fail or succeed, that's a bonus. You've already won because you showed up and did the work. Number 7, embrace death. Live with urgency and purpose. Let's be honest, most people walk through life as if they'll live forever. They waste time. They delay dreams. They stay in toxic habits. They stay in dead-end relationships. They postpone what matters for someday. But the Stoics didn't ignore death. They meditated on it, not to be dark or depressing, but to wake up. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. That's not fear, that's freedom. It's the piercing realization that life is fragile, and you don't get to choose when it ends. Every moment wasted is a moment you never get back. Let that sink in. You don't get to wait for the right time. You don't get to keep saying, "I'll do it later." You don't get to assume tomorrow is promised. The Stoics practiced something called memento mori, remember, you will die. They didn't repeat it to be grim. They said it to stay focused, to stay present, to stay intentional. Because once you truly realize your time is limited, you stop squandering it. You stop scrolling for hours. You stop arguing over nonsense. You stop tolerating mediocrity, and you start living with intention, with love, with motion. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." You may not control how long you live, but you do control how deeply you live. And the most dangerous lie you can tell yourself: there's plenty of time, double quotes. No, there isn't. That risk you keep avoiding, that business you keep postponing, that apology you keep withholding, that change you keep saying you'll make next year. This is your moment. This is your window. This is your time. The Stoic doesn't run from death. They stare it in the face and say, "You will not catch me sleeping on my life." This awareness doesn't make you anxious. It makes you awake, because the person who remembers death regularly, speaks truthfully, loves deeply, works with urgency, lets go of ego, stops fearing failure, because the ultimate failure isn't messing up. It's wasting the one life you were given. So live like you're on borrowed time, because you are dot. And when you do, you become magnetic. You move with purpose. You stop chasing validation. You start walking with presence, and people feel it. You feel it. Number 8. Be a warrior for virtue, not for approval. Let's be real, most people today are chasing likes, attention, applause. They live for praise, not for purpose, but the Stoic, they don't move for the crowd. They move for virtue. Marcus Aurelius said it simply, just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. Live with integrity, even when no one is watching. Speak the truth, even if no one claps. Keep your word, even when it costs you. Train hard, even if nobody ever notices. That's virtue. That's the kind of soul that can't be bought. And no, it's not about being perfect. It's about being principled. It's easier to lie than to tell the truth. It's easier to impress than to be real. It's easier to seek approval than to stand alone. But every time you choose what's right instead of what's easy, you sharpen your edge. You strengthen your character. You become someone your future self can admire with pride. That's how you build a foundation that can't be taken away. Not by failure, not by critics, not even by time. Seneca reminds us with power and grace. I will govern my life and thoughts as if the whole world were to see the one and read the other. That's integrity. That's a soul that won't crumble under pressure, because it's been built on truth, not performance. In a world obsessed with appearances, the Stoic is real. In a world addicted to noise, the Stoic is still. In a world full of performative living, the Stoic is genuine. If you want to be truly unstoppable, don't live for applause. Live for your values. Live in such a way that if everything was stripped away, your job, your money, your followers, your status, you would still stand tall. Because the moment you stop needing the crowd, you become the kind of person the crowd naturally follows. So be the warrior for what's right, not for what's popular. And even if you walk alone, walk like it's the only path that matters. If you've made it this far, it means something. Deep inside you is ready to evolve, ready to leave behind the distractions, the weakness, the emotional chaos, and step into something greater. Not perfection, but power. Not control over others, but mastery over yourself. That's the Stoic path. It won't offer you comfort. It offers something more valuable: clarity, direction, a life filled with meaning, even when the world around you is falling apart. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they didn't write their wisdom in peaceful times. They wrote it to survive storms, to lead through war, to endure betrayal, to face death with dignity. They taught us that real strength isn't found in muscle or money. It's found in the man who keeps his word, the woman who faces fear without flinching, the soul who chooses the right path, especially when it's the most difficult one to walk. You don't need to wait for motivation. You don't need the perfect moment. You just need to begin right now. Train your mind. Expect the struggle. Detach from outcomes. Hold tight to your principles. Live like your time is running out, because it is. And here's the beautiful part: you don't need applause. You don't need praise. You don't need everyone to understand you, because when you walk the Stoic path, you become unshakable from within. And that kind of strength, it's rare, it's real, and it's yours. Drop this in the comments below. I am becoming unshakable, day by day. If this message stirred something in you, if it lit a fire, if it sparked truth in your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, comment your favorite Stoic law, share it with someone who's on the same journey, and make sure you subscribe. We are building something more than just content here. We are building a community of thinkers, of warriors, of real ones, people who are done with the noise, people who want to live with purpose. And remember, don't skip any part of your life. It's all training. It's all transformation. Keep showing up. Keep choosing strength. And don't stop until you become unstoppable.